this next future of work, it's the inner person's game, right? They say the inner man's game, but we're women, so it's the inner person's game. And checking in, I do that before I start some of my meetings with my team, because the interoception, I'm gonna throw a few big words at you, so you might want to get your pen out. Interoception is critical. And I have a few books here, books that I wrote. You have one, thank you, but this one is great. It's called Leading in a Nonlinear World. And the first half section of this book is all about the inner game. Interoception, metacognition, and self-awareness, right? Great book. And so I do it the check-in. And that's really, really, really important, checking in. So let's get started that we've checked in. I was getting in an Uber going to North Carolina to do a training at a pharmaceutical company for their senior leadership who are rising into the C-suite. And I get in the car and I suddenly hear, heart of a lion, never say never, cut like a diamond, shine under pressure, it's time to fire on up. And I'm like, what, a diamond, what? For those of you who know my work, my whole curriculum, my whole company is fashioned after the metaphor of a diamond. And so I'm like, what is this song? And so I'm listening to it, and it made me think, don't we want that from our leaders? Don't we want to shine under pressure? What does that look like? Don't we want to create under pressure? Don't we want to lead and fall and then get back up under pressure, right? But isn't that what we want from our next generation of leaders? So that inspired me, and I ended up looking up the song and looking up the lyrics and really tapping in to what does it look like to shine under pressure. What's the mental game? I'm really big on books, so like you will get tons of book recommendations from me. And so that is where we are going. Since this seems to be the summit of quotes, here's my quote. If there is no enemy within, the outside enemy, but I just put outside situation, can do us no harm. And so how do we make this true? What are the tools that we need? If there's no enemy within, the outside situation can do us no harm. Have you heard of the term VUCA before? All right, those of you who were with me last year, you did, because I checked my PowerPoint last year and I remember talking about this. But VUCA is 30 years old, taken from the military. The business world has done a lot of articles about it. It means volatile. Everyone say volatile. Uncertain. Complex. And the last one, anyone? Ambiguous. I heard it over there. You get a sticker. Thank you. All right, and I do have stickers, so I am serious about that. Right? So this is what I've been talking about since I've been public speaking, doing a lot of my research on this, but someone just gave me new research. And that's why I love working with Jackie, because she's all about the cutting edge research. Like we're 2 years ahead of what's being done now. And the new term is banning. Have you heard the term banning? Right? So just like Carla, who had to leave, and I was like, oh man, I do have my degree in psychology. We could have spoken. But banning is where it's going now, because they're saying, you know what, VUCA, we've already been dealing with that. Being uncertain, that's just the norm, right? This is the norm. What they're saying now is banning stands for brittle. It's not just volatile, it's brittle. Companies that are here today are gone tomorrow. It is that fast, overnight. A stands for anxious. This brittleness is causing anxiousness within your top leaders, right? People who are leading multi-million, billion-dollar companies are feeling this because we're in a non-linear world. That's why this book is key, leading in a non-linear world. My background is K-12 education, and so we train our kids to think in formulaic traditions, right? You do this and this happens. That is not the workforce that you're in now. It's a non-linear workforce. So how do you combat that? And the I means incomprehensible. Oh, the point I was going to bring up with Carla is I am still certified credentialed teacher in the state of California, so I can give you homework. Look up VUCA versus banning. There are some great leadership articles on that. VUCA versus banning, and this is where your leadership training is going. And this is why this is really key. VUCA versus Banny. For those of you who don't know my work, and you're going to dive into the book later on, my work is intercultural creativity. Everyone say that. Intercultural creativity. This is not the keynote about this, but you have the book. But just really quick, it's cultural development, your ability to work with different types of people, right? And that comes from your formative years. Linda gave you a great example on that. And my psychology mind was really analyzing her experience. Because she had that experience with different people coming in and out her home, her brain had to shift perspective. Her brain had to adapt. And that's why she's the leader she is today, because of that. And so I really challenge leaders to do a lot of the formative analyzation, right? Because that's where those skills come from, that you can still grow today, but they really get founded in your formative years. And creative thinking. Who here thinks they're creative? Love that. All right, so number one, creativity is not only the arts. A lot of people equate creativity with only artistry. That's a part of it. But creativity is found in all fields. And creative thinking is your process of problem finding and problem solving with relevance, value, and novelty. I go deeper in this in the book, so you're on your own for that one. But really quick, your book will show you the 7 gems of intercultural creativity, because we understand that the mindset of creative thinking, those skills, are the same skills needed for cultural development. They overlap. I know, I said the same thing too. And the 7 gems for both of these areas are in your book. Everyone say creative growth mindset. The empathetic way, right? To be empathetic, it hits your creative thinking, but it also hits your cultural development. Cultural observation. Cultural curiosity, right? Curiosity drives creativity, but it also drives your willingness to want to find out the lived experience of other people's. Perspective shifting. We talked about that in the brain from last year. Authentic adaptation. You heard of authenticity. What does it look like to be you, but still be able to adapt in different situations? And being a bridge, creating across cultures. All right, so that is what you have in the book, and that is your homework. So our new program now is something called Prismatic Leadership. Leaders who know how to pull out these colored gifts, these colored talents of your team members, things that they're not even aware that they're carrying around, those are the leaders that we're looking for. They're highly observant, they're curious, they're shifting perspective. They're highly empathetic, which is a neurological process. It can turn on and off in the brain. And this is not that workshop, but we can talk about that a different time. Those are your prismatic leaders. We're looking at that. And it's all rooted in the brain, and that's why I'm here today. Who brought their brain today? Raise your hand. Your hand should be up, or you have a different issue at hand. Right? All right, so prismatic leadership needs executive presence. And that's why I drove all the way here from Phoenix. Any Phoenix folks? Yes, I'm from Phoenix, Buckeye, right? Drove all the way here from Phoenix with my 5-year-old son, dropped him off in Santa Clarita somewhere, and came down here, right? And this is my Women's Week. I'm here after I signed a few books out there. I get in the car, go to Newport Beach. Tomorrow I have a keynote for the Women's Leadership in Education. And then I drive back to Phoenix, get on a plane on Friday to go to Chicago for the Women's in Leadership Summit. I was like, women, let's go. Here we are. But we're talking about prismatic leadership. I'm going to give you 4 tools to enhance your ability to show your executive presence. Are you ready? Okay, pens out. First of all, go inside of your bag. In addition to the things that they showed you in your bag, you should have a diamond pen. Bring that out, please. Yes. A few of you were holding it up. You're like, wait, you forgot to talk about these, because Jackie was the one that put these in there. That's why she didn't have this in her main bag. And you have a frame. I told Carla earlier, she set me up really nice, because we're going to go deeper into the neurological aspect of frames. And you have a little string for your frame in there as well. All right, does everyone have that? All right, if you don't have a diamond pen, Miss Stephanie, where are you? Miss Stephanie has extra diamond pens and extra frames. So just Raise. Who needs a diamond pen? All right. So diamond pen. So look deep, 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 deep. Okay. All right. Okay. So we are going to get that out to you. Awesome. Could you grab that box down there? Could someone grab the box underneath the chair? Yes. And look in yes, that one. And there's pens in there and frames. So just kind of have your hand up slightly if you're missing something. And you, ma'am, you get a free copy of my brain that my 5-year-old son and I wrote together for helping me out. Thank you so much. All right, are you ready? Here we go. 4 takeaway tools. I'm a teacher, so get ready to learn. Okay. Awesome. Keep your hand raised if you're missing anything. Sorry, I was like trying to put stuff in there. What is executive presence? Everyone say executive presence. All right. Aristotle said the beginning of wisdom is the definition of terms. The way that the research shows, it's your ability to inspire confidence in your team that you're a leader that they want to follow. It's your ability to inspire confidence in your team that you're the leader that they want to follow. We still have a few hands in the back. And in your peers, and the frames are the most important. If you don't get a diamond pen, I can give you one after the talk. But you do need a frame, though. Oh, how did I miss the whole table over there? Yeah, there's more frames underneath my table outside. Thank you. Thank you, right? Adaptable. Here we go. So executive presence is your ability to inspire confidence in your team, that you're the leader they want to follow, in your peers, that you're capable and reliable, and in your senior leaders, that you can rise into higher positions. That is executive presence. And it's a thing now. There's research on this. Right? That's executive presence. So my job is to say, what does that look like in the brain? First of all, tool number one. And I'll probably write this up and send it over to Jackie as well. Turn your perceived liabilities into superpower strengths. Carla touched on this earlier as well. Now, I am by trade an educator, but I also taught music and musical theater for over a decade of my life. So you'll see that in my teaching. So with that, I need you to stand up. Stand up. And you're going to act out what I'm going to say, okay? Just don't think about it, just do it. And watch your neighbor, be aware of personal space. All right. I need you to fly like a bird. Go. I need you to move like the wind. I need you to throw like a girl. What's the first thing that came to mind when you heard throw like a girl? I don't know if it's Dove or some deodorant, but they did a wonderful commercial on this. It has, who's seen it, right? The older kids, but like 15 and up, are like, okay, or like run like a girl. And you see these 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, they're all like a girl, sure. And they're like, what happened? What happened from 5 to 6 to 7 to 14 to 18 to 21 to 35 to 42? Puedes siéntate, por favor. Sí. All right. So that was the theater aspect. This is a picture that I talk about in my keynotes. I say my 3rd grade teacher would be very surprised to see this because she had to send me to speech therapy 3 times a week. There are times I wake up, I couldn't even say my name fluently. And I still deal with that as an adult. That was one of my frames that colored my life. Janine, you can't speak fluently, so therefore your ideas are stupid. People aren't going to take you seriously. People are going to think you're not dumb. That was on my frame. And so that is one. In my diversity or inclusion trainings, I have this thing called the diversity diamond, where every facet has a demographic, like gender, education level, and just different areas. And then we look at these and we say, what about these demographics put negative words on your frame? Not because of you, but because of the culture you're in. So I'm just going to share mine, and then you're going to think about your own. Being a woman, we're in a nation where we've had to fight for equal rights, where like a girl means do it weak. That was a culture that I came into, which was riding on my subconscious mind. Dr. David E. Eagleman, who has a wonderful documentary I highly recommend it called The Brain on pbs.org. Episode 5 is your social brain. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But he says, your subconscious brain is running the show, whether you know it or not. Your conscious brain, the part of the brain that wakes up when you wake up, is the broom closet in the mansion of your brain. Like that metaphor of like, what? It's the broom closet, your subconscious brain. So whatever you're hearing over and over again, like a girl, or for my case, being black means XYZ. Having a disability means XYZ. These are on my frames that I carried into adulthood. Jackie and her team brought me to here today to have you really look at your frames, because they could be that invisible ceiling, in addition to everything else that the external world is putting on there, that's stopping you from leveling on up. Does that make sense? Awesome. So you have a frame. What was on my frame? Things like less than. Genein, you're less than. Remember, she talked about comparison, right? Things that were on my frame, outcasts, right? There's so many times I had the answer. I had a great idea, but it got stuck and I couldn't share. And I watched the moment pass me by. The things that you see me do out there with you, sitting with you and talking to lunch, it took me years to get to that point. That I was dumb. And here's one that has nothing to do with my stutter, but that your income equals your value. I served on the board of a huge nonprofit. I just rolled off because I left the classroom. But powerful nonprofit. The CEO of LinkedIn's literally sitting right here. The senior vice president of Facebook, the #1 investor in the nation, Stephen Colbert, Yvette Nicole Brown, the number tech person, and then there's me, the kindergarten teacher. Their monthly income is like my yearly income. And that caused me not to level up in my executive presence because of what was on my frame. Right? And then I found out, there was a meeting where someone said something and it was a red flag in my head. I was like, ooh, that's going to be a problem, right? And I didn't say anything. And it turns out 2 years later, they just now creating teams for this issue that I could have brought up 2 years earlier, but my executive presence. So I cost them money because of my frame, right? Until one of my coaches, this is why mentorship is so important, because they can see outside the frame and look in your frame. That's why mentorship is key. So if you're not a part of that, get a part of that. He said, Genein, this is an organization for teachers. You're the only teacher on the board. You have a perspective that they don't have. You're the expert here. But in my mind, that wasn't on my frame. This was on my frame. And so that's why this is really the critical work of this future of work, of this inner work. And so you have your frames. Get your frame out, and you have markers. We're going to give you about 5 minutes. I know. And, no, you don't have markers in your bag. There's just one on the whole table. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have that kind of budget. I was a teacher, right? All right. And thank you to we for supporting everything. And to our give a round of applause for our sponsor for this speech. Yeah, honestly, they make this happen. So you're going to think about your old frame. Some of the things you haven't dealt with, some of the things you might be dealing with right now, and some of the things you're like, you know what, I never thought of it that way. I probably write it down and then go home and deal with this. A lot of this stuff is me giving it to you now, but the real work is at home. Okay, so what negative words, and some of you may have already talked about it during Carla's talk, what negative words may have been on your frame? There we go. Awesome. Did anyone wish to share just something that they may have been struggling with? Or that has been a frame either connected to a demographic, like being a woman, or being having a disability. Did you want to share? She has a mic right here. Thank you so much.
Something that I struggle with is being uneducated. I've had to work and go to college at the same time. So I still haven't gotten my degree after 6+ years of chasing it. So sometimes I feel like my pedigree doesn't match the position that I'm in. So
any response to that? Because I know I have one. Okay. Now I want to challenge you on the term what educated means to you. Because in this, once again, the culture, right, of your income equals your value and how important you are. You are educated if you have a college degree. Yeah. And that's a falsified fact, which you're going to see on the next one. Actually, we're looking at the shift we're in because education means that experience. Experience is now becoming more important, and your ability to shift and be agile and create is more important than say you went to Cal State Northridge, right? Now, of course, depending on some fields, you have to get certain credentials and degrees. But I need to reframe, or we need to reframe that and say what? I'm very educated, right? Your education may not look like the system, because it's a system. K-22, it's a system. It's actually a system that lowers your creativity, by the way. We have research on that. So maybe it may be a good thing that you never know. But how do we reframe that? And so it's looking, I think some people did it last year, looking at all of the assets you do have, right? Your experience, your ability to create, your ability to work with different types of people at different levels, right? We need to reframe all of those assets. Did anyone else wish to share? And thank you so much for sharing. Over here, and then we'll get one right there. Yes.
So I actually also wrote uneducated, but it's not.
Well, wait. Let's not use that term anymore.
I was
just that you don't have the normal systemized ways of education. Yeah.
I do have a bachelor's degree, and I feel that way. It's just not in electronics. It's not in engineering. And so I also wrote outsider, and I think the two of them go hand in hand. Because even though I've been in the industry for 15 years, I feel like I didn't grow up. I didn't start out here. I didn't learn all the principles the same way everybody else learned the principles of this industry, right? And I'm also in the training side of the industry, so I'm not meant to be like the product expert or the sales expert, right? I'm in this other weird notch of the industry, so outside.
And I'm going to reframe that for you with research. And if you need any, when I say research, send me an email. I will send you the research. The fact that you didn't come in the normal systemized ways for this field is actually an asset because the brain needs multiple perspectives, especially now because we have AI that's taken up a lot. The brain needs people who have multiple perspectives. So the fact that I'm doing a keynote in electronics, tomorrow education, and then Friday medicine, and I don't just do the keynote and then leave. Today I have to leave because I have to stop. So sorry. But Jackie knows, normally I stay the whole conference, right? Because you are not my normal group. So just being around you heightens my creativity. I sat next to a woman with a golf watch. Where are you? Yeah, she has a golf watch. That does everything. I would not know that unless I connected with someone outside of my normal cultural group. And when I say culture, I don't just mean ethnicity, just, demographics or whatever. So that's actually an asset, the fact that you're coming in from a different position because you can offer a different perspective, right? This is what frames are so critical to everything. That's why I'm glad Carla brought it up so I can go deeper. This is everything. That's why I wanted you to have it, to touch it. This is everything. Did you wish to share?
So I feel like I'm just perpetuating this theme here, but mine was industry knowledge. I don't come with this knowledge. So I'm in there trying to do change management and hearing from folks all the time like, well, you don't know, this is for 50 years we've been successful. Why do you want to change it? I have all the education, formal education, all that, but it's that you don't know how it works here kind of concept. So it really plays into what the other two folks have shared.
There's another quote that I share in my book, which one I don't know, but it said the dangerous thing you can say is this is the way we've always done it. So once again, reframe like her, you're actually an asset, the fact that you're coming in through a different door. You're literally, your perceptions are different, your aware of different things that other people who came through that normal formalized education. So the top companies for this next 10 years are the ones who diversify their groups with not just, the normal gender, ethnicity, but just different lived experiences, different types of education. But we're going back to executive presence. Now, I'm well-researched. Dr. Caroline Leaf has a wonderful book called Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess. And she's great, by the way, great podcast. And she talks about, normally when we're trying to change our frames, we go straight to the declarations. All right, I am powerful, right? I am strong, and I am worthy. She's like, that's awesome, but that's step 3. Got to go to step 1 and 2, right? And what does that look like? This is so important to understand what's going on in your brain. Words are not just invisible things that just come and go. Words are so important. If I text Jackie, did you close your front door? She'd be like, what? Right? Because words. Or I can say tree, sky, table, door. That was like, okay, well, what's this? But if I say, did you lock it? Words can really create a neural pathway in your brain that creates your frame, right? And it changes your biofeedback. It changes everything. Words are so powerful. So you need to deconstruct falsified facts. And this is in her book as well. Let's use my stuttering for example. Me being a stutterer, that equates to my ideas are not intelligent. I won't be taken seriously. Hey, well, where did this come from? I have to ask myself this question. Why do I think that way? Where did this come from? Or girl, throw like a girl. Where did this come from? Who gave me that false fact? So she says that we need to challenge these and see, not just start our positive affirmations, but challenge where did the thought come from? And then another question is, how did this or does this play out in my life? By me thinking that my ideas are dumb because I stutter, makes me not want to go for that opportunity to speak in front of the CEO. Makes me not want to introduce myself to a particular person. So I had lost opportunity because of that frame. And so I really reflect. I believe Linda talked about the importance of reflection. It's key because every time I think of a negative thought, it strengthens the neural pathway in my brain. So that's why I have to deconstruct that in order to rebuild, right? This is a physical thing. Episode 66 on my podcast, Create and Grow, you'll hear me talk with Dr. Michael Platt, who is the director of the Neuroscience Initiative at Wharton School. And he talks about your physical brain changes as you meet different people from different lived experiences. Right? So Linda's brain must be huge because she had all those experiences from different people, different walks of life. Your brain has to grow because it has to figure out, you have to try to predict, right? What the person's going to do, what's driving the person's actions. So your brain is literally growing. Right now your brain's growing listening to me unless you're totally tuning me out. And hopefully you're not because you paid money to be here. But as you do this, as you talk to yourself, your brain is changing shape. Keep that in mind. Another question that I do when I deconstruct is, what truth can I use to replace it? My ideas do have value. I've done my research. I am well sourced. I'm doing them right now, strategies that I learned through my speech therapy in order to stutter less. I can do this. And if I do stutter, they're very kind. They will just, they're not going to judge me. They understand where I'm coming from, and they're going to help me feel received and welcomed, right? I have to reconstruct that. The last one is, what action can I take to manifest this new truth? I had to go talk to Girl Scouts, just get out there. I joined a Toastmasters, right? To practice in a safe place. So your issue may not be, but your thing may not be stuttering, but it's something. It's something. And so how can you deconstruct the falsified facts and then reconstruct the neural pathways to your truth? All right, did everyone get that? Okay, so it's a real thing. So on my new frame, I'm worthy of this. My ideas are worthy. I've done the work. I'm wise, right? How I am. Anytime you put an adjective after I am, it's big. So be careful behind what you put I am. I'm me, right? When I do my training and stuff, I have pipe cleaners and Play-Doh and Legos. I'm me, but I still get the work done, but I do it my own way, and that's what makes my type of training unique, and I am creative. And so we're gonna take a few minutes. You can choose one or two things. Flip over your frame, and what are some new construction phrases that you can put on the other side of your frame moving forward? What are some new construction phrases that you can put on the other side of your frame moving forward? Wonderful. So we're going to move on because I want to make sure we get through the diamond tools, right? Don't forget, diamonds are not just bling bling, right? Hold up your pen. It's multifaceted. A diamond, and I just posted this on LinkedIn. When you walk outside in the sun, you're just going outside, right? Did you know you're surrounded by rainbows? Have you ever thought of it that way? You're literally surrounded by rainbows, but you can't see them. Why? Because you need a what? A prism. Some of you paid attention in a physics class, right? You need a prism. And the prism separates the frequencies so you can see the color. Like if you look at your ring or you see rainbows, because of the water acts as a prism. Leaders, prismatic leadership, means you can see the abilities and the gifts and the strengths in people that they can't even see themselves. What does it mean to be a prismatic leader? So that's why you have the diamond to remind yourself, what am I doing to work towards to being a prismatic leader? What does that look like? And the first step is attend to your frames. Everything is frames. The way you look at yourself, other people, right? We call them assumptions. Everything is framed. The way you look at opportunities, everything is framed. And there's a great quote that I love, says, the words are the windows for which you see the world. Change your words and you'll change what you see. Change what you say changes what you see. And we actually have the neuroscience behind that of how perception works. So keep that in mind. Another aspect is, this was spoken about earlier, being transparent. This is me practicing in front of my students when I got my TED Talk. I got that email that said, congratulations, you're doing a TED Talk. They're like, yay, oh wait, what am I gonna say? And then you practice, and they know I had a speech impediment, but it's great for them to see me practice and fail and struggle through it, and then 20 of them came to the actual TED Talk. I know, I was like, oh my goodness. But they just don't see Miss Letford like, oh, here I am. They saw the journey. That speaks more, the journey, you being transparent with the journey speaks more to your team members than them just seeing you high on the chair, on a pedestal. So keep that in mind, especially for those of you who are bringing up dependence in your own home. Sharing the journey is so important for their growth mindset. So I had to deconstruct my liability, and now I turned into a superpower. When I end my keynotes, that part of me sharing how my teacher needed to send me to speech therapy is a part people come up to and talk to me about. Something that I was ashamed of and I hid is now what I share with joy. So I had to reframe my relationship with my stutter. What are you reframing with? So you already did that, and go home and reflect upon that. Like this isn't really like the work time. The work time is later on when you were sitting on the stoop at the rocks, really thinking about the frames that you're operating. All right, everyone say diamond tool number 2. Once again, not just bling bling, but diamonds are used for tools. Are you aware of that? They're the hardest rock. A lot of machinery companies use diamonds in their machines for tools because they're very hard. You need to myelinate those neurons. What does it mean to myelinate? Who drives a car? Who's ever driven a car, right? I don't assume, all right? Were you awesome the first day? Weren't you like, hey, which one's the gas? Okay, is it that one? Remember the first day, right? So this was touched on earlier. With music, you see it very clearly, driving, things like that. What happens in your brain is when you're doing something new, your neural networks are trying to get in order. They're trying to get in line. The more you do something, the easier it becomes because the electricity can travel faster through that network. It becomes even easier when this fatty substance circles or covers that line, and that's called myelination. I know, wow, yes, right? And it just wraps around, kind of like just a tube, and it wraps around the tube so the electricity can, that's why you don't really think about driving. You just get in and drive because those neural networks have already been myelinated. Have you ever thought about myelinating your journey of executive presence? What does that look like? All right, so your connectome needs practice. The way that your brain is wired, whatever you want to excel at, are you intentionally practicing them? This is us at Boston Medical Center. We train over 500 leaders, people with direct reports in person, and we use play to practice. Right. Cut like a diamond, shine under pressure. When have you practiced shining under pressure? Right. Besides actually putting you in a real situation, which is doable, we do it through play. Because you can see a lot about a person, how they respond to stress, right? And we do it through play as well. But this is just to remind you of, am I intentional about practicing my executive presence, about putting myself in areas that I have to grow. This is another lyric in the same song that I sang. They say the struggle is real. I say the struggle reveals how you deal with the story framed inside you. He uses a different word, but I was like, let me just change. I give myself 3 areas to change the lyrics to fit my point, right? The struggle reveals. And so are you putting yourself in areas where you're not excellent so you can deal with frustration? The brain needs practice. And so my questions for you to write down or take a screenshot of, how can I be executive at something that I never do? Are you asking to be put on a project that you may not have 100% the skills of, but you know you can learn that last 90? Are you under leadership that's a prismatic leader that sees something in you that you don't even see in yourself? In education, we call it zone of proximal development, where I want to put my student in an area where they're not totally excellent, but I know that they can grow. And I'm not putting them too far in an area where they'll just totally, spaz out, but it's the zone of proximal development. What is your zone of proximal development? And how can you look for opportunities to get yourself there? And when was the last time I did something for the first time? Does anyone when was the last time you did something for the very first time? Round of applause. Thank you. You need to come visit me in Arizona. Wonderful. So what's happening in your brain? Your brain is restructuring the mind maps, right? Because every new place you go, every new person you meet is now building up real estate in your mind and allowing you to shift perspective, allowing you to just see things creatively, right? Travel is so huge. Travel is really one of the best things you can do to complexify your brain. So good job. Awesome. So did you get that? So on your own time, when you're out by the water, reflect upon, am I really taking initiative to put myself in a zone of proximal development where there is a little stress? When you hear the word stress, you think of it as a bad thing. Stress is not a bad thing. Chronic stress is bad. The body needs stress. When you're working out, that's stress, right? Just don't do that for like 3 days straight, because the body needs to rest. But I intentionally, even being up here, now it's normal because I've been doing this for a few years, but the first times, Jackie saw, it was stressful, but I'm like, okay, I'm not going to back down. I have to do this in order to get where I see myself. So what is your journey with that, and how can you set that up? All right, diamond tool number 3, increasing awareness of my self-awareness. Once again, I'm so glad I'm going in the middle of the day because you've heard this earlier, and the brain needs to hear things multiple times to sink in and to make connections, and I'm giving it to you from a different perspective. You're unique. Kiss your brain. Go. Mwah. Your brain is beautiful. We are just now figuring it out. I was at UCLA jumping in and out of fMRI machines, not for any medical reasons, just because I was fascinated. My mom was like, why are you signing up for those experiments? You don't know what they're doing to your brain. But Mom, it's science, you know? And little did I know, 23 years later, it would be the foundation of my work. And my professor, Dr. Matthew Lieberman, is now like the father of cognitive neuroscience. Back then, he was just Dr. Matthew. But it's come a long way. What we knew then and what we know now, if your leadership training has nothing about the brain, you're behind. I'll tell you that right now. This is it. Here's a great book, The Leader's Brain. The Leader's Brain by Dr. Michael Platt. The Leader's Brain by Dr. Michael Platt, and he's episode 66 on my podcast. If I was a principal of the world, I would make everyone who is leading a human being read that book, because it talks about the importance of you, your uniqueness, but also the importance of how a leader can really connect with those who they lead. And when you're talking about executive presence, it's that connection, right? It's that ability to build trust. And trust, they actually found out, is built through neurochemicals in the brain. One of them called, does anyone know, starts with O. Oxytocin. You were secreting it, and when you got here, whoever your caretaker was, the brain needs it in order to bond, so you don't leave the baby on the street, right? And oxytocin is being secreted, so the caretaker, the mother, the father, whoever's taking care of the child, will take care of the child. But what our research is showing is it's not just for caretakers and babies, it's for leaders and their team members as well. And so that's what I was at Boston doing. It's called the Neuroscience of Building Trust. How do you build oxytocin opportunities into your work day? There's things you can actually do. And Dr. Michael Platt talks about that in the book. He's brilliant. And so you are leading people who are a whole universe unto themselves. And you have to bring up that presence. But the first thing is to understand that you're unique, they're unique as well. And so we are going to do something, because I'm interactive. Levántate, por favor. I said in Spanish, and everyone else who doesn't, like, okay, people are standing up, let's stand up. All right, find a partner, and if you don't have a partner, raise your hand. So find a partner, just look around. If you need a partner, raise your hand. I know some of, all right, so we have, does everyone have a partner? And if, all right, come on up, you're up here, yeah, come on up. Does everyone have a partner? Wave your hand, all right. All right, so we need a partner over here. Did you have a partner? Okay, we have a partner over there, okay. All right, so you're actually gonna be my partner for a quick second, and then I'll send her back to you. All right, so what we're going to do is she is going to look at my eyes, because that's one way to build oxytocin. Our brains are literally communicating right now without us even being aware of it, seriously. And you're just going to follow my actions, okay? So I'll come down here with you, all right? So just follow my actions. And then you can even change planes. Be aware of any physical limitations of your partner, though. And then also emotion, okay? All right, but we'll do that on the second one. So just follow their actions as well and be goofy. Go. And freeze. Women in. That's all right. I forgot to tell you who's partner one and who's partner two. I usually have you say, whosever's birthday is coming up next in the year, you're partner one. All right, and then we switch. So you can find that out. So now next, whoever's birthday is coming up next in the year, your partner 1 and the other person's partner 2, I'm going to give you an emotion, and I want you to embody that emotion, and then the person is going to mirror that emotion, okay? All right, so find out whose birthday is coming up next, your partner 1, and then when I say switch, you're going to switch. Go for it. All right, okay, so now I'm going to say the emotion and fully embody. Everyone say embody. Okay, that's going to be a critical word for leadership development in the next 5 years. All right, partner 1, embody joy. All right, embody disappointment. Disappointment. Embody mischievousness. 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 All right, now switch. The other partner is going to embody the emotion. All right. Embody adventure, like very adventurous. And it could be a moving thing. All right. Embody embarrassment. And both of you embody gratitude. And say thank you to your partner and have a seat. All right. All right. Women in. Women in. All right, when you have an interactive workshop or anything like that, you have to have a way to get them back to you, just FYI. By the way, like I said, I am an educator by trade, so educators are the biggest thieves. We'll go in someone else's classroom, see something they're doing, and take it and use it for our class. So what I'm saying is still, anything you see me do, if you, especially what it was said earlier, if you're a team lead of direct reports, but don't forget, we're all leaders because you are the CEO of you, right? But if you have to run a team, this is very important. Why? Because we have social brains, right? This is the direction that leadership and training is going. And you'll read it when you listen to the podcast with Dr. Michael Platt. Meetings that you start off at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes, social connection. Don't get straight to work. In order for me to follow you, for you to lead me, you have to know who I am. In order for me to trust you in your executive presence, you have to know who I am. And so now the research is showing, once again, send me an email, I'll send you all the research, that the companies that put in time, the leaders that put in time to build social connections, those are the ones rising to the top. Dr. Matthew Lieberman, my professor, has a wonderful talk, Google Talk. You can look that up. Google Talks, Matthew Lieberman. And there's a big part on synchronization of the brains. People collaborate better. They're more productive when their brains are synchronized. If we just get to work and I have no clue who you are, I'm not going to want to put my anything on the line for you. Right? And so because the neuroscience is showing us so much on how not just brains work within your head, but how brains work between our heads, it's fascinating, fascinating. So our brains are social brains. What we just very, in a fun way, practice with the power of mirror neurons. Has anyone heard of this term? You all have them, congratulations. It's basically how you learn how to walk because you watch someone walking. So your body went through, you fell, you got up, you fell, but you're watching people do things. That's how you learn. Mirror neurons are how you learn. You build oxytocin by looking each other in the eye. You build oxytocin through laughter. And you build oxytocin through mirroring. Power of mirror neurons when you're bringing up your executive presence, right? People look at what you do more than what you say. Keep that in mind. Your behavior communicates to their subconscious, whether you like it or not. Right? At the very end, you have some quick strategies. The way I'm holding myself. You are very powerful. You are awesome. Go get up. Right? My behavior is communicating something to your subconscious, right? So even the way I hold myself is communicating to your subconscious that you're not even aware of. Just saying, do I trust her, right? And I keep looking at you. I owe you a book, all right? You get a book, you get a book. You know. If done well, they can increase trust. Trust is the new currency. Trust is the new currency in your organization. If you do not have trust, you do not have anything. It improves your ability to empathize. We looked at the neuroscience of empathy, and this isn't perspective shifting. I get to go to DigiKey next week. I'm so excited for that, but we're going to talk about the neuroscience of building trust. And we talk about what does the brain look like when you're building trust. Empathy. It's actually on and off switches in your brain. Fascinating. And people do what you do rather than what you say. You aren't really looking at me, but I say, please say thank you to your partner. And then everyone bows. I told no one to bow, but you bowed. Why? Because you saw me bow. So this is a fun way to talk about very serious points. When you're building your executive presence, all of this factors in. All of it factors in. So 3 elements of trust. They looked at 80,000 360 reviews. Jack Zanger and Paul, I have the research if you want it. The 3 elements of trust, when they looked at companies that were low trust companies and high trust companies, the one that came out on top, high trust companies, the 3 was good judgment and expertise, positive relationships, and consistency. Which one of these 3 do you think rose to the top? Oh, good job. Oh, yay, you all get a star. Because a lot of times people say consistency, right? When things don't match up, it lowers my trust. But what we found was it is positive relationships, because if I have a positive relationship with you, it'll if you have a bad lapse in judgment, that's okay, because you spent time with me building trust. So executive leaders, executive presence spends that time. If you are inconsistency, but we have a good positive relationship, then that helps. So executive presence increases when trust increases. If you work on building trust, your executive presence will automatically increase. People will listen to what you say. Like when the CEO of LinkedIn, he didn't speak a lot, but when he talked, everyone was like, right? He's brilliant, right? What's his name? Well, no, he's the former CCO. Oh my goodness, his name is totally. Of course, I'm up here and his name leaves me. Great guy though. Executive presence increases trust. Increases when trust increases, and it all happens in the brains because we have social brains. So I can't really push that out enough. This is me going to it's Gilead's Scientific, and they are the ones rising into the IT leadership. And so we bring in Legos and just different ways to get them, especially IT. A lot of you are IT, STEM, right? Who's STEM? STEM, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Did you all studied STEM? There's a way that you've been trained to think. So I have to get you out of that way so you can look at things a little bit differently. Therefore, when you're building your executive presence, you can shift perspective with all the different types of team members that you have on your team. Another aspect touched on earlier, has anyone heard of brain-heart coherence? We're going to do that really quick. I need you to breathe in and release. Breathe in closer to your heart and release. You can find this video online, very powerful. We have to understand, and I believe the speakers earlier mentioned it, that when the stress is high and you maintain control, that speaks to your executive presence. Brain-heart coherence is a part of that process. Brain-heart coherence means that your heart is actually talking to your brain first. We think the brain is really in control of everything, which it doesn't have a lot of control. But if you see a snake, and let's say you're afraid of snakes, your brain won't say, what is that cylinder-like, animals? No, your heart will automatically react before your brain has a chance to really understand what's going on. Brain-heart coherence means they are coherent, right? They're in line. The fastest way to get your brain and your heart in coherence is through breathing. That's why your top leaders who are in high stressful situations, who are able to stay focused, that's usually their first tool. And it seems very nonchalant because we're breathing all the time, but really taking that breath. There's a wonderful TED Talk called Being Brilliant Every Day. He goes deeper into brain-heart coherence. You can also just Google brain-heart coherence activities or techniques. But this is key. As she mentioned, your amygdala, right? Amy D. Gala, right? If you wanted to give her name. But your amygdala is what really turns on that fight, flight, faint, fawn. There's always an extra F added once a year. And if that stays in control, that's when you spaz out and everything just hits the fan. To get your amygdala to calm down, brain-heart coherence. Your first tool should be your breath. That is your best friend. Because here's what happens when you are getting back to coherence. Your prefrontal cortex will shut down if your amygdala takes control. We need to get your prefrontal cortex back on because it's responsible for all of these things. Empathy, insight, right? That gut feeling. Emotional regulation, body regulation, intuition, communication. If my prefrontal cortex has shut down because of high stress situations, that's when random not cool things start coming out. And then an hour later, you're like, why did I say that? Because this part was not in control. All right? So executive presence knows how to keep their prefrontal cortex on when need be. Now, if you're improvising and rapping, and if you play a musical instrument and you're improvising, your prefrontal cortex does calm down, so the improvisation can come up. But that's a whole other conversation. All right? But to be a leader, especially in stressful times, this is what you want on, or at least being able to control it. Your breath should be your first tool. Brain-heart coherence. Definitely look that up. All right, your last tool. Is this making sense? Okay, your last tool, diamond tools. Diamonds are used as tools for a reason. Might be a surprise. Use the arts. I did say creativity is not only the arts, but a big part of my life's work, my gift to the world before I pass on, hopefully, is to tell corporate America that the arts are the way to go. And now people are actually taking me seriously because we have the neuroscience to back it up. Here's an example. Does anyone know who this is? Margaret Thatcher. And she was going into a huge role, right? The leader of a nation. And she knew she had an issue with people taking her seriously. So what did she do? She hired a theater coach. Because part of your executive presence is in your voice. It's in the way you carry your body. And those of you with the arts background, any musical theater people or dance or music or even visual arts, right? But you know how you communicate through your body. You can have a musical message. If I know how to end my song on a certain note to say the song is over, right? I do the same thing with my voice. I can hear it. I can hear the melodic structure of other people's voice. I can hear when you seem stressed, especially if I know who you are. My tune, I've been playing music since the 4th grade, started on the trumpet, and then I taught for 15 years at the elementary school in Canoga Park. So I have to be in tune. So you're talking to me, you're thinking you're just giving words to me. I'm hearing everything. The pitch, the cadence, right? Your prismatic leaders are the ones who really refine that skill. I can read your body language well. And normally because of my stutter, that was another thing. Because of my stutter, I didn't speak a lot growing up. So I had to use other skills to get information. So that's another way you can reframe whatever happened to you in your childhood. What are some benefits that could have come out of that as well? And so what does that look like to use the arts to train your own executive presence? The arts increase your skills for observation, It increases your skills for communication, for creativity in non-arts areas, right? Because it's all about problem solving and problem finding. And it increases your executive presence because your brain has now been wired to be sensitive to what other elements people are missing. And you're spotting what other people are missing. And so another quote for you, since this is a summit of quotes. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. So don't say, oh, Genein, I didn't do music as a fourth grader. Pick up a recorder today, take some piano lessons, go sign up for a dance class, go sign up for a painting class. I think you mentioned that you started something. What did you start? Yes. Put you on the spot. And so I don't have time to go for it, but they have wonderful 30-minute talks online. This is Your Brain on Art. You can just look up Your Brain on Art. Those of you who have been trying to vie that the arts are important, definitely get that book. They basically did all my research for me. My book is coming out next year that's bringing that. Like, what is prismatic leadership with the methods of bringing arts into adult training, right? What does that look like? But this is where we're going, because the arts complexify your brain, and it strengthens your corpus callosum, which connects both hemispheres together, right? Dr. Sanjay Gupta said your inner hemispheric fissure. All right, I heard it on the way here from Phoenix. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard that word before. Your inner hemispheric fissure, which is the connecting part, your corpus callosum. That's how your ideas get back and forth. The people with the big ideas, awesome ideas, have a great connection piece between both hemispheres. Music connects both hemispheres. One of the few activities where both sides are lighting up at the same time. So if you can hear your team members speak and really get some extra information that they aren't saying to you, but they're communicating it to you a different way, bam, you're there. So once again, that's a great book. You can take a screenshot, highly recommend it. These are the 4 arts. Of course, there's probably a few more. But really quick, the subconscious messaging increases your melody, your movement, your multisensory perception increases, your learning flexibility. There was a lot of research coming out of IBM about how they're looking for leaders with cognitive flexibility. What does that look like? There you go. And emotional regulation. I can't hear the music from Schindler's List and not be moved. I haven't even seen the film yet. I can't watch the film. But the music, I know the facts, but the music does something to you. Music is powerful. And I use it when I start my meetings. I have people, hey, we're a team of 10. Everyone, give me your top pump-up songs, right? And there you go. So everyone can share in that. Embodied cognition increases your confidence in your mind, and you can use your body as an initiator. Here's a few quick hacks to increase executive presence. Your body's always sending messages. Send the message of confidence. All right, everyone stand up. Really? All right, okay, and show me your steeple pose. Steeple. Here, if you look, she's doing it there. All right? And if you see when I speak with my hands. I don't say, I have a big idea, right? It's not congruent, but I have a big idea. We're going to make it. All of this is communicating to your subconscious, all right? So show me your stance of we. When you think of the We Summit, what does that look like with your body? How do you embody the We Summit? Go. How do you embody this experience you're having today? Okay, we are going to wrap up because I do end at 2:30. All right, so and this is all research, do the steeplechase to increase trust. You don't have to, but I'm just saying that's there. And don't forget, you can use your hands to support your ideas. We also know what not to do. For some reason, the research shows don't touch your face because it tells people you're lying. Yes, they looked at footage from, I think, Bill Clinton, and every time he lied, he touched his face. I was like, what? For those of you who love to do research, You Are Contagious. You Are Contagious, TED Talk. You Are Contagious. It's a TED Talk by Vanessa Edwards. Some of you may already know her work. That's a great TED Talk. And keep your hands out of your pockets or behind your body. If I can't see your hands, my subconscious says I can't trust you. Yeah, like, hey, you want to go to the, yeah, so say, when you come out, hi, make that eye contact, let me see where your hands are and what they're doing, and try to not touch your face, okay? So you can go and reflect upon that. And so your takeaway tools are deconstruct and reframe your liabilities into superpowers, myelinate your growth experiences, be intentional about putting yourself in slightly stressful situations where your brain has to figure it out and be creative, increase your self-awareness of who you are and connect with others, and use your body and the arts for executive presence. So thank you for your time. But don't forget, we're not thinking machines that feel, we're feeling machines that think.